Hey everybody, my name is Becky from Becky Talks Parks, and in this video, I want to talk about what it's like to have a career in parks and recreation. Having a career in Parks and Rec is one of the best decisions that I've ever made, and I want to make sure that young professionals have the knowledge and the resources that they need in order to succeed in this field. And so this video is all about what it's like to have a career in Parks and Rec and the different kinds of job opportunities that you can have. So I found that there's a lot of resources out there for those who are already in the know. So those that are located or those who are involved in the National Recreation and Parks Association, or those that have people that they may know that have connections in the field. But for those that don't and are just researching online, I want to make sure that there's a video out there that clearly explains what this field is like. So when I'm referring to Parks and Recreation, I am specifically referring to local Parks and Rec. So this may mean the city-run organization, a county-run organization, or if you are in a state that is like California or Colorado or a few others, you may be in a special district. But regardless, these are locally run organizations that offer parks and recreation or leisure services or a variation of that to their community. And so a lot of times that can mean that you have a career path in a couple different areas. I'm going to go over those here in a second. But at first, I just want to tell you a little bit about my background and tell you how I know about these things and why I'm sharing them with you. So number one, I have a professional experience on the ground, so working in local parks and recreation at a local park on the East Coast and in Colorado as well. And then I also have experience working in a recreation center and managing a recreation center. I have experience in marketing for local governments. And then I also have experience as a parks and recreation consultant, which I currently am for a company called Greenplay. And so with that job, I'm able to travel all across the country and see how other professionals and agencies are operating in this field and serving their communities. And so I really feel like I have a good amount of experience to share what I've seen and what you can take away from what it's like to have a career in this field. And so a lot of times within Parks and Rec, there's going to be a couple different divisions. So number one may be aquatics. Number two may be recreation. So whether it be recreation centers, managing the operation of that, like a fitness facility, or it may be like recreation programs such as sports, dance, arts, anything like that. And then there's the administrative side of things. So we're those that are working in the background to make sure that everything's running smoothly. So that would be anything that have to do with budgeting, park planning, marketing, those kinds of things would fall under administration. And then finally would be parks maintenance. And so those are the people who are out in the parks, a lot of outside time, working to make sure that the parks are clean and safe for our patrons. And so once you kind of decide which division you would want to work in, then it's a good idea to start, working your way up the ladder. And so like many other jobs, there are entry-level positions, which may be seasonal, especially in parks maintenance and recreation and aquatics, or it may be part-time or full-time. And so a lot of the full-time positions a lot of the administrative positions are going to be more full-time, but a lot of the other jobs, they do allow you to have the ability to go in and just try them out for a season and see if you like them. So that's a great way to see if it's the right fit for you. Another way to see if it's the right fit is to actually go volunteer. There are a lot of times volunteer opportunities, just go check with the agency itself, or you could go up to a recreation center or find someone through an online directory and ask if you can shadow them for the day and understand what their job is really like. And so those are some ways to figure out which first step to take. But once you do, you're going to work your way up the ladder. So we already discussed entry-level positions. But the next level up is obviously the middle management. And so you may be supervising seasonals or part-time employees. And you also would probably have a boss above you. The boss above you might be a director, or it could be another level position, depending on how large your agency is. that director level position is going to be overseeing those different divisions and making sure that everything is running smoothly. A lot of times it can be a very political position, as you have to balance the budget, you have to balance the needs of both the public and your elected officials. So you're, a lot of times, even though you may be considered the boss, you're not really the boss. You have, of course, the public to answer to. You may have city council, you may have a board of supervisors or other members that you have to report to. And then you may have like the city manager or a mayor that you also need to report to. And so regardless of what situation that you're in, you're always serving the public. And I think that that's the greatest pro of this kind of career field, is that the public is who you're ultimately serving, which means that you have the opportunity to enrich and improve those in your community. Another pro about this career field is that you can always pivot, right? So if you start out in a career in aquatics and you spend a couple years there and decide that that's not really the career field for you, you can possibly pivot into the same organization, but within recreation or within administration. I've seen that happen many times. And so you can still stay within your career path. You don't have to go get another degree or change, throw everything out the window. It all can count for something, and you just need to pivot into the next role. The other thing that I think is great about Parks and Rec is that we have such a supportive network of people through, NRPA and the different networks that are there, but then also just through different forums online, that they provide so much value through sharing their resources, sharing their staff documents, sharing what's worked for them and what hasn't. And I think that that is so unique to our field. And that's why I wanted to share this through a video, just to demonstrate how willing we are in this field to help one another, because it really is such an awesome field to be in. But when we're talking about career paths, there's of course always some negatives. I think number one is that because you're working for the government, it can often feel inefficient, which it might be. There might be red tape. There might be people that you have to report to that have been in their career path for 40, maybe 20 plus years, and they may not have as much motivation as you to get things done. And so really just working in government can be a really frustrating thing, especially for millennials and other young professionals. Number two is you may have to work a lot of holidays and weekends, which can be frustrating for someone who probably got into the field because they like having fun, they like, doing recreation on the weekends and evenings themselves. But in this career path, it is often necessary that you spend a lot of that time working and making sure that other people have those experiences. So that can also be a big drawback. And then number three, I think that a lot of times if you're in a smaller organization, it can feel kind of stifling, and there may not seem like a lot of opportunities if you're like in a small town. But actually, if you look outside, if you're willing to move and relocate, there are more opportunities, but it may not feel like it if you are attached to a certain place. And so I would just suggest having an open mind and the willingness to network and the willingness to ask for help. And that will often lead you in a position and in a community that is the best fit for you. But I would say that all agencies are different. And so even if you work for a city and you move to another city of similar size, it can be completely different. It's all about the culture and who you're working with, as with any job. And so you want to make sure during the interview process that you like your boss and that you feel like it's a good fit for you, and that your strengths are going to be utilized to the best that it can. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you are enjoying this job, because then you can come to work every day feeling alive and passionate about what you're doing and making sure that you can serve your community as best as possible.